I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I think I'm an entrepreneur because I care about women getting paid. So I teach women how to get paid no matter what I do. And I,
Okay.
primarily care about Black women getting paid.
Right.
So, and even in the company that I sold, I think what made me so different from everybody else, they approach that industry like a community. Like, oh, we're a community service. And I'm like, no, no, we're not. We're here to get paid. I don't do that nonprofit crap. Like, no. And they heard me and they were like, wait a minute, what? It's the white women over here who are getting played. Black women, we're just like, no, we're community based and no, we're not. We're like, no, we are getting paid. And I think that's what made me stand out from everybody else because I didn't hide that. So then I teach other people or have taught other women how to do that and how to approach it from a corporate mindset or a for-profit mindset. I don't do nonprofit whatsoever.
Hey everyone, welcome to Unapologetically 50 Plus. And today I have Miss Tracie Collins with me, and we are going to be talking about how Black women over 50 can start a business and find purpose. And just a little bit of insight, I did a 4-week masterclass with Tracie, and it was awesome. So I really appreciate her business savvy and all the things she taught me, and hopefully she'll give you some helpful tips. If you haven't started your business, then maybe this is a great time to get started. But before we get started, I do have one huge favor to ask. If you find any value or enjoy the content, please remember to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and let YouTube know you want more of this content. I truly appreciate your support. All right, let's get started on this interesting topic. Hey, Miss Tracie.
Hi,
How you doing, love?
I'm good. How are you?
I
Thank you so
am
much for having
amazing.
me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. Like I was saying, I really enjoyed the master class we did. Um, it gave me a little taste of, how to apply. I mean, because I don't know anything about business really when it comes to building my own business. And the information you really provided helped me to focus a little more because I was all over the place trying to figure, okay, how do I do this and that? And you breaking it down the way you did in your master class, it, of course, that's just a start. I'm gonna have to come back to you over and over again, but that at least started me feeling a little more confident in what I was doing. So, and being 58 and starting a new business, and not having that experience, your classes really help. So can you tell folks a little bit about, after all that, can you tell folks a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Tracie Collins, and I help women in leadership create scalable, sellable businesses with ease, meaning with structure and putting like systems in place so you can grow, scale, and then eventually sell. I think it is remiss of us to create an entity without the release in place, meaning without the exit in place. You kind of want to look at your business like your child. You always want to give your child the necessary fundamental tools so they can be a thriving, productive member of society, whatever that means for them. And your business has to be approached the same way. So a lot of people start businesses, but people don't understand like business fundamentals, meaning infrastructure. But they also don't think about like, if I were to hand this business over, which you should always be thinking about, could somebody come into this, being able to take it over and they come in and you can create an exit that you are compensated handsomely for.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. And why was that when you started building your own business? Why was that something that was important to you, or you think is important when it comes to, like you said, running a business and then at some point, selling it or handing it over? Why is that so important to have that in the back of our minds, even if we're starting a new business?
Just using myself as an example, I always say I'm a horrible employee, and it's true. I'm not employable at all. Like I'm a good follower, meaning like if you have something that I can apply and you listen and go from there. But like as an employee, I was always thinking about the exit. on my first day. I was never the kind of employee back years and years and like 20 plus years ago to where I would decorate my desk and there was like pictures and never, I was never that girl because I knew I wasn't going to be there long. Honestly, I think the longest time I've ever had a job was not even a year and a half. So I've really like worked for myself. And so we should always be thinking about an exit strategy because life changes, we change, and you should also have personal and professional goals for yourself as far as elevation is concerned. I always say complacency is a killer. So when we think about creating a brand or essentially a business, what does it look like? Because your life is going to change whether you think it or not, or whether you plan for it or not. It is going to change. It's either you can be in control of the change, life circumstances do happen to everybody, but you can be in control of the change and prepare for that at the onset. So that is really how I look at that. I sold my first time with selling a business was back in 2016. When I moved from Oakland to Atlanta, I sold a practice of mine.
Mhm.
Um, and then when I built my national company in 2017, I knew I was going to exit that business. So in the inception of that, and as I built the structure of that, I knew I was going to eventually exit, and I did. I sold it 5 years later. So I always think like that, like how, and I've exited a country, like, so there's processes for everything. And then building a business is one thing, but exiting a business is totally different.
Is there a time frame where you would sig is there a time frame when you're working with your ladies or gentlemen, is there a time frame that you say this is a good time to exit? And I know everybody's different, to exit your business. So is there a certain level that, folks need to get to before they decide, you know what, I want to exit my business? Is it uh, a, a dollar amount or a time? What does that look like?
It will look different for everybody, but you really want to exit or think about an exit when when it's on the incline, meaning like you are making a lot of money a month, not, annually, quarterly, like it is doing well because economies change, trends change. So if you exit when it's doing well, then you can optimize the sale, meaning like you can leverage that amount of money that you could potentially sell that for.
Oh, okay. And when you sold your last businesses, then you created new businesses. So is that you're a serial entrepreneur? That's right.
I am a serial entrepreneur, but I think I'm an entrepreneur because I care about women getting paid. So I teach women how to get paid no matter what I do. And I,
Okay.
primarily care about Black women getting paid.
Right.
So, and even in the company that I sold, I think what made me so different from everybody else, they approached that industry like a community. Like, oh, we're a community service. And I'm like, no, no, we're not. We are here to get paid. I don't do that nonprofit crap. Like, no. And they heard me and they were like, wait a minute, what? It's the white women over here who are getting played. Black women, we're just like, no, we're community based and no, we're not. We're like, no, we are getting paid. And I think that's what made me stand out from everybody else because I didn't hide that. So then I teach other people or have taught other women how to do that and how to approach it from a corporate mindset or a for-profit mindset. I don't do nonprofit whatsoever.
Why do you think as Black women we do that? Is it out of guilt that we say, oh, this is about, it's not about the money? Do you think it's out of guilt or what?
I think it's
Why?
out of understanding our value. We have a decreased sense of value, and it's from society. It is from conditioning. It is from epigenetics. It is from since Plymouth Rock landed on us. And so when we part of taking that back, part of owning who you are. It's so funny because I was just watching Jewel on her Tiny House channel on Sunday. She goes live and she said Tracie's theme is like, show them who you are. And it's like that's really what I'm starting to repeat. It's like, show them who you are. Why do we have to dim our light? I don't believe in us being humble. We don't need to dim our light. We don't need to minimize our accomplishments. Oftentimes we are overqualified just by existing, meaning we're always the most educated. We always have the most life experience in a lot of situations, including in industries in corporate America, in business. And it's just like, why not show them your resume? Or tell them and understand, let them know who you are. I was just on the phone with my mom just before we jumped on, and she said, "You said you need a shirt that says Google me." I said, "I do, and I'm going to get one, and I'm going to wear it because I just believe, like, why am I dimming my light to make somebody else comfortable?
Yeah.
First of all, I'm too old for that. I'm too old for that. And I am very quick to remind, including my children, you are welcome because I was your first home. You're welcome." So I just think like that. But I think it's I move in audacity because I've been an entrepreneur so long.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think because I've had the privilege to and the autonomy to set my own price, to set my own hours, to set my own rules, that why would I regress to make somebody else comfortable?
Yeah.
Then we got Chad over here, the mediocre white man, who's like, who can't even tell, himself from a hole in the ground, but chart like 10x in his services. Like, no, no, we
Yeah.
don't do that.
We don't do that. So, what are some of the myths that stop women 50 and over from even trying to become entrepreneurs?
I don't know, Miss. I really think it's the conditioning. A lot of time it's religion that
Mm.
they have to contend with because
Oh,
it's like the
okay.
men are in power and it's very patriarchal.
Okay.
And I talked about that. I think that's a horrible approach because men are not natural leaders. They're just not. They're not natural leaders. The things that are best led by women. And we're seeing that in present time. Look at Donald Trump versus Claudia Scheinbaum. Like you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
society is really shifting back to that matriarchal, that woman leading, because
Yeah.
we understand how to lead with common sense. And everything doesn't have to be death and destruction for us to get our way.
Right.
So that is one thing. Then also society, but then again, then that steeps from like the patriarchal
Right.
religious approach.
Right.
So, and then I think women have been taught to, and this is women across, ethnicities, across, race, they've been taught or we've been taught to make men comfortable. Why? I don't know. Why? And I mean, why? Because so it has been embedded to dim our light.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was just before we came on, I was reading or listening to a TikTok post, and it was this gentleman ranting on, and he was just talking about, he was talking to men, black men, about the you wanting this woman to be subservient. And that has always gotten on my nerves, that word being submissive, I should say submissive, because I've been married, it'll be 30 years this year. And my whole thing is, why do we keep thinking that the woman has to be submissive? You're in a relationship, you are equals. And that's why I have the problem even with husband and wife, because it puts the wife as beneath her husband. And so I responded to the post, and I wasn't being negative, but I was just saying, as a woman being married for 30 years, that word submissive to me is a problem, because then you guys forget that we are equals. And that goes, like you were talking about, that just also goes into society. We should be looked at as equals. I know men look at things on a higher level. They don't look at the details. And that's probably why we do make better leaders, because we look at the details. Men are great at, war. That's what they're good at. Let's just be honest. They're good at war. And not to say that women can't go out and fight and all that, before someone jumps on here and gets upset behind that. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense, that women are not looked at as equals. Your society says, "Oh, you're the woman, so you're underneath. You're not going to understand things like a man does." And it's like, no, 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 no. That's definitely not true.
Mhm.
So many women think that they need a business degree or a big following, or, a budget to start a business. What's your take on that?
So fortunately, we live in a time where we have so many digital tools that will amplify our businesses at the onset. From YouTube is YouTube University, then there's TikTok Community College, then there's Chat GTP. I was telling Honey this morning, I was like, I use chat more than I use Google.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then if it's not second to chat, then I'm going to TikTok because I can get, immediate answers. So I would be remiss to say that you don't need a budget in starting a business. However, understanding like everything that like the course that you took with me as a tax write-off,
Right.
anything that you do pertaining to your personal and I'm sorry, anything that you do pertaining to your business development or your professional development is eventually a tax write-off. So you have to look at it like more of an investment.
Right.
Um, and as far as a following is concerned, it's really about consistency and targeting your ideal client or customer. And this is one of the things that I did go over in the master class. It's like, who is your ICP, which is your ideal client profile, and to really get into who that individual is, because it'll help you in targeting them and marketing to them and reaching them and speaking to them. You are speaking their language. So people really have to understand who that and like get into that person like really, really deep and spend a lot of time with crafting that and creating that, because you will refine your messaging over and over and over because you understand who you're talking to. As far as budget is concerned, yeah, you do need a little bit of budget to set up your basic infrastructure, which means your LLC, the software that you need to embed to even have an online presence or profile. I'm not a brick and mortar girl, meaning like I don't work in the brick and mortar space because it's just not my thing. It's not my thing because primarily I just don't want to be tied down to a location, if to be honest.
Right.
It-
Right.
I said that back in 2015 when I knew I wanted to live a life abroad. I was like, okay, I know I want to live in another country. Um, and so I need to be able to have that location autonomy in doing that. And I can't be tied to in-person services and or a location in doing so. So this is why I specialize in the online space. I specialize in the digital space because essentially you are providing a service to a certain demographic of people to X, Y, and Z. So I even forgot the question, but that's all. I hope
That's
I answered it. So I kind
yeah.
of broke those down because those are three questions, but I
Yeah.
broke it down to a following is really about you don't need a huge following, but you definitely need to know who you're talking to.
Right.
And a budget, you're going to need a little bit of a budget, but if you start out in the service space, I believe in keeping your expenses minimal for your business so
Yeah.
you can grow and let that revenue feed you put it back into your business and you scale from there. It was another reason why I don't do brick and mortar because there's so much investment, upfront investment regarding that.
Yeah. One thing I did like also you taught me is my personal brand and my business brand and how to kind of mesh those two together because I was always told keep it separate. Yeah, there's some things on my personal brand that or my personal social media platforms that well I really even don't deal with those much anymore, but that I wouldn't cross over into my business brand, but also using my personal who I am to get the folks that who are following me to get them to know who I am and trust me. And that was one of the things that you made very clear that your personal brand also helps for your ideal client to trust you and then want to be able to, use your services. So that was really a really eye-opening for me when I was in your master class. So, how does fear of starting over hold women back from starting a new business, especially as we get older? When you're young, I think you're like, oh, okay, invincible, not invincible, but you just think, okay. But then as you get older, you like, we're more hesitant. So,
I think we think that we have more to lose in the reinvention process, but now we are seeing women who are 40 and up taking the lead on the conversations that are happening amongst women because there's so much value in that space because there's life experience that we're bringing to the table that these 20 and 30-year-olds don't have. And nothing against the 20 and 30-year-olds, they're just not there yet because the goal is to age. Like the goal is to age, not only age, but age gracefully, right? And in that, you're going to bring with you life experience. But judgment, the fear of being judged.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I see it time and time again. It's like, that they are hesitant to put themselves out there
Yeah,
because of afraid of who's going to see them. But usually, and I said this on Friday night, I was like, the people who talk the most crap are doing less than you. So why are we
mhm,
caring about what they say and see?
yeah,
Why?
yeah,
It's like we're operating in audacity. And you have to own that. And we can't be, if you want to create a business and or brand or rebrand or reinvent, you have to be courageous in doing that.
yeah.
And oftentimes it means you are stretching yourself and doing things differently. And part of that is showing up.
I also think learning all this new technology, that has been
That's another one.
that was my hang up, but after like I said, having that master class with you, I'm like, and knowing that sometimes, especially in the beginning, I might not have the funds to pay someone to do it. So I need to at least learn a little bit.
Mhm,
I don't believe in that I need to take it all on. I need to delegate that to someone else when I can.
mhm,
But I think that technology part is as a struggle for us that are, 50, especially those of us over 50. It's a little bit of a struggle. So I can see where that might hold someone back from, because YouTube is a beast in itself sometimes, trying to figure out those doggone algorithms, which you can't
it-
figure them out, but just knowing how to upload properly. And yes, there's YouTube University, but that takes time. There's definitely a learning curve.
Yeah, and if you're committed to your reinvention,
Yeah.
we should always be learning something new because it stretches our brain cells, and
Yeah.
that's really what keeps us young and vital. It
Yeah.
is that learning. What position are you putting yourself in to be a constant learner, to being a life student? That is one thing that I'm notorious for saying is like being a forever student. I don't know everything, and I'm not going to ever proclaim to know everything. The people who say they know everything know nothing, right?
Right.
And even in business acumen, I may be so good at it, but I'm always still studying it, right? Because there's always going to be something new. Even with technology,
Right.
there's always going to be something new, something different. There's always going to be a different trend. And so how am I continuing to be that forever student so I can then there pour back into the other women that I support?
Yeah. I agree 100%. So, what are some of the ways women can use their life and career experiences as a business advantage?
Talk about it. Talk about it. That's where that personal branding comes in. It's like sharing your
Mm,
story. Sharing your
okay.
your story is so people care. You have to develop that know, like, trust factor. And with so much information out there today, how are
Mhm.
you going to be different from everybody else? How are you going to stand out from everybody else? And the only way to do that is to create that know, like, trust factor. People
Mm,
have to know who you are. You have to be visible. It's gone are the days of like stagnant posts, or I'm just going to put a picture up and the
right.
people it's like we live in a digital age where you can create AI babies now and it goes viral and
Right.
the AI babies they crack me up. So like you have to like think about how are you going to be constantly innovative, but how are you going to stand out from everybody else too? And it's really your journey. It's your
Mm,
story. It's going to be like, I was a teen mom. Like
no.
my oldest is 32 years old. I had to learn, I didn't go to college, or well, I take that back. No, I didn't go to college. I went to culinary school and I got a degree in culinary arts. But
Oh,
what got me there was like, okay, I use that my advantage towards women's health. And so that's a part of my story. And so telling your story is really what's going to separate you from everybody else. And in those kind of conversations, people are going to ask you questions, and that's where your expertise is going to shine through, or that's what's going to differentiate you from everybody else is your uniqueness. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not the similarities. It's not like people just care. Like, what are you eating today?
Right. Okay. And what do you tell women when they, what's that, what is that word? It was on the tip of my tongue and I forgot. Um, when folks say, oh, I'm imitating or perpetrating, there's a word that folks use and I
Mhm.
can't remember it. But when women um, are, they look like they're not who they really are, or dog it, I can't remember the name. There's a
They're-
word. Um, Oh, there's a word that they use when
Imposturing, like,
imposter syndrome. Thank you. So you just wait till you get to
yeah.
58. The imposter syndrome. What do you tell women who feel like, well, I might have all this experience, I might have all these degrees, but I'm going into an area, yeah, I know something about it, but I still feel like I'm being an imposter. What do you tell them? What
I hear that come up a lot. And uh, we have this conversation from time to time in the leader group. And once Jules says, like, it's really the conditioning of white people and the white person syndrome, and they put that on Black women. So I think we're dealing with it in a lot of ways because in social media, it makes it feel like you have to have all the things together. It has to be, it has to have a certain look. It has to have a
Right.
certain appeal. So you feel like, well, I'm not there yet. And we all deal with that. That's not anything like even I deal with that on an ongoing basis. So I have to, how do I have to show up just even as myself? But what I know about today's time is people care about authenticity. They care about how authentic are you, and in your show just post it. It doesn't have to be perfect because the more you post the better you'll get.
Right.
If you sit and wait and hesitate and that analysis paralysis, you gon' the train gonna pass you by.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
everything's gonna pass you by, and you'll be looking at somebody who's like, wait a minute, I remember when they were just starting out. Now look at them. And it's because they just took a chance. One of the things you will never do wrong is bet on yourself. As
Okay.
long as you bet on you, you will
Mhm.
win.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the fear of failing because even if you don't win, you'll learn. So essentially, it's still a win. This is why betting on you is essential.
It's almost like also, and also the comparison, you know.
Yeah.
I look, sometimes I'll look at my YouTube channel and I finally had to stop. And I think we talked about this in your master class that I'll look at my YouTube channel. I'm like, well, I've been doing this not consistently, but I've been doing this. I'm much more consistent now for this amount of years, but I only have this many subscribers. And I finally had to tell myself, and then I'm looking at other, women who are kind of in the same space, and I'm looking at theirs. I'm like, they've only done this many videos, and I had to stop and I said, I could either go in one direction and go through a company and have them help me build my subscribers, but are those going to be genuine, authentic subscribers who want to listen to what I have to say, or it's just going to be snail's pace, and I'll get there when I get there, but those will be people who really want to hear what I have to say. They'll be authentic subscribers. So
Right.
I have had to get out of the comparison mode and feeling like, well, am I not doing enough? Is my product or my service, is it not really what people want? And I finally had to say, well, you're just getting into it. So don't be so hard on yourself and give yourself that grace. So that's been that's been a couple of things that I've been struggling with and, slowly getting over it, but it's still a
Yeah, and
struggle.
it's a process, and we have to understand like this journey. It builds character, it builds tenacity.
Yeah.
It weeds people out during the process. Like, oh, I don't feel like doing it. So those are people who weed out. So the
Yeah.
ones that have stood the test of time, you have that know, like, trust factor because
Mhm.
you have built that community, that following, that level of engagement of people who are authentically want to be in community with you. I am notorious now for saying, at least to myself, like, get out. If you ain't trying to listen to what I got to say, go. Stop being a voyeur. Go away. Like, if you are not engaging with me, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not
Right.
a person in the communities that I create across the board. Like, if you are just gonna watch, go. Like, I'm gonna let you know first I can see you. I see you. Like, I'm watching. I'm watching the analytics. I'm looking at the insights. I'm looking who's doing what. I'm looking at who's engaging. And if you are just here to go,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm not here for that. I care about what you have to say. I care about what you want to see more of. I care about that. That's community to me as far
Right.
as being in the social media sphere. It's like that's community. So if you are just watching, why? You can go somewhere and watch. Like, this is not a petting zoo over here. We're not doing that. We are talking about building like community or
Yeah.
and education amongst us because I can learn from you too.
Right. Right. Exactly. So there's this myth, and you talked about this as well in your master class, that entrepreneurship has to look like a hustle, burnout, long hours. What's a better model for women at this stage?
Well, you are going to have to put some sweat equity in.
Yeah.
You are absolutely going to do that. So this is why I say understand your reason why.
Hmm.
Because your reason why is going to be when the numbers aren't looking right, when the money isn't rolling in, when the following isn't there, it's going to be your reason why that's going to keep you going.
Hmm.
So really getting a firm grasp on your reason. What's your reason? Who do you like? I care about women getting paid. That's what keeps me going. Like, I care about Black women, especially getting paid. We deserve to be compensated our value.
Okay.
And this is why I teach what I know, because I care about your livelihood. I care about you taking everything that you want to bring, to the table for women 50 plus. Like, how are you going to reach that demographic of women? I care about you sharing your story, and being rewarded for that because there's an exchange of value. So for me, like, my reason why is like, girl, you can fail time and time again. Welcome to the club. Like, you don't think I fail? I fail every day. Like, that's just a part of the process. You just not gonna know about it because I'm used to it. So I just, dust myself off. Well, that's not gonna work. Let me try something else.
Yeah.
Um, but understanding your reason why, and it may take some introspection, and it may take like, who are you impacting, and then that's where you really begin to see the reward is when you start getting into whose lives are you changing. Like, if
Yeah.
I'm not building up other leaders, then what am I doing?
Okay. Okay. But do you think that when you're starting a business that you have to go to the point of burnout?
No, no, because then, and I've done that. This is why I say no. Then I have built a business that I ended up hating, and um, which was another reason why I sold it, is because it would essentially burned me out. But then it's like, what is going to bring you joy? I think at this stage in our life, we really have to be pleasure center focused. We have
Yes.
to think about what is going to bring us joy at the same time. And I knew that I wanted to focus more on us thriving. I knew I wanted to focus more on us winning
Hmm.
and being, how are we calling joy into our life and knowing that pleasure and abundance is our birthright. So how are we doing that?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, the ageism. Um, what some women think it's too late, so they to be taken seriously. How do you push back against ageism in a business space?
Again, I tell them, show them who you are. And I think women run into me and I'd be like, have you checked your own resume? Have you seen your own accomplishments? Take some time and write down from as long as you can, like as far back as you can remember the things that you've accomplished. Like even if you've graduated from pre-K. So I want you to seriously write everything that you've accomplished down. Now,
Hmm.
when you get to page 50, like look at all of your accomplishments. Um, it's really about the value, the sense of value. When we deal with age, I don't deal with women and thinking I'm too old because when they start encountering me, they'll be like, well, wait a minute. You know, it's like, let me reframe my thinking. But I approach it from a place of like, to me, 30 years of marriage, that's astounding in today's day and age.
Right.
It didn't mean that you guys didn't have challenges or, you know, there's peaks and valleys in all things. So,
Right.
but I want to hear about them valleys. How did you get through them valleys? I don't care about the peaks. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's an accomplishment. And
Right.
so you teach other women, you know, you share that story with other women. So with ageism, I don't deal with that. You can't come to me talking. I don't raise punks. I don't. I can't. You know why, Angela? Because one of my absolute pet peeves is weak women. And if I encounter a weak woman, you will see just the level of irritants. I can't deal with it because number one, we as Black women, we don't have that luxury, you know. And I'm
What's
not
your
saying,
definition of a weak woman? I'm sorry. I just that.
child, you don't want to know my definition of weak woman. I can't even say
Well,
that
no,
on this
I just
stage.
want to know for my own purpose. So I'll
Well,
stay out of that.
someone who I'll tell you offline,
Okay.
child,
Okay.
but someone who lacks courage.
Okay.
And I understand there can be life circumstances that can diminish who you think you are. And there can be people that will diminish who you think you are. But we have to be committed to that healing process because we know that we are deserving of so much more. And I see that. And just because, as I'm not saying being a strong woman and saying I'm a strong woman, because I will exercise my damsel in distress to get what I want. But that's a part of my strength. And that's also a part of my Libraism because we will do that. But if I need to be strong, then I got you. Like I'll show up. She shows up. But I'm not going to wear a superwoman cape just to make other people comfortable. That's another thing I don't do. I don't
Okay.
wear a superwoman cape. If I don't feel like doing it, I'm not. Like I'm not. My kids
Oh,
know that. Honey knows that. I'm not doing it.
she said, nope,
Right?
absolutely not.
No, I don't have a problem with the word no. But one of my pet peeves is weak women, and it's somebody who really doesn't know who again, it's like show them who you are.
Okay.
So it's like when we start stepping into that power of
Mhm.
like, oh, wait a minute, I done birthed all, you know, these babies. You know, child, I am quick again to remind my kids who I am. Do you know who I am? So I just think having that level of audacity in all things.
Okay. You need to
Mhm.
get a shirt that says something like that.
I
Because
am.
you've
I am.
used audacity a number of times. I'm like, get a shirt. I'll definitely buy that.
Right.
Uh,
Let me write these down.
write
So
it down. Get
Google
a
me, honey, because that's the number one. Google me. And
yeah.
then
Google me.
and
Yep.
then audacity, like,
Yeah.
you know, show
Those are
them who
two
you
good
are.
ones.
Like,
Yeah.
show them
Those
who
are some
you
good
are.
ones. Those are some good
And
ones.
somebody said to me, "Do you know you have all these Tracyisms?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been told that." Like,
Right. Hey, write you a little
uh,
book too.
yeah.
Have chat help you with that. That'd
Oh,
be
yeah,
great
that's a
too.
good one.
Yep.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So, what's the biggest lies we tell ourselves about having to figure everything out before we launch a business?
The lies we tell that we have to have everything all together.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have everything all together. Well, I don't have I don't have that, or I don't look like this, and I don't have all the lighting, I don't have all the equipment, I don't have like
Mm-hmm.
Keith Lee started from his phone and a baby chair at a table. Like, you see what I was like? He had an iPhone, that little, his daughter's chair,
Yeah.
and a table, and all he did was just show up and give his opinion about food.
Yeah.
Thinking that we have to have all the things in place.
So
Yeah.
how do you give yourself permission to learn as you go? I mean, for you, I
Mm.
mean, how did you when you started? You you know,
I think because I don't know everything, and I'm okay with, I don't want to know everything, but
no.
I want to learn what is going to improve me. I'm a person who takes good information and uses it right away. I
Oh,
use good information right away, if it's applicable to me and where I want to grow. I also study other people that I admire and how
okay.
they're showing up and how they're doing things and the impact that they're making and how they're marketing. Again, so I'm constantly watching and learning, um, because I want to be better. I want to be better than I was yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've coached many women from different age groups. What patterns or strengths do you notice in women entering entrepreneurship in the midlife that you don't always see in younger women?
Hmm. That's a good question. What patterns do I see that I don't see in younger women? Well, the younger women don't have the experience behind them to add to the bottom line, just because they haven't gotten there yet. But I see the women of a particular age, we have that. But now it's like, how do we use it to our advantage in these times? And I think the younger girls, they already know how to use things to their advantage despite what they don't have.
Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause I
that's where I see the difference lies.
And I also think that as we get older and we start doing things and it becomes like on autopilot, and you kind of touched upon this earlier, that writing down what we've accomplished, even though we might think it's insignificant or
Yeah,
small or meaningless,
yeah.
writing it down really helps you understand and see, you
Who
know,
you are.
who you are, right, and what you
Yeah,
have to offer.
yeah.
So that's a really good, suggestion. Just even if it to build your own confidence to say, oh, okay, I forgot about that. And I didn't realize I knew how to do that because we
Yeah,
just look at it as it's just everyday life or whatever. So that's a good idea. So are
yeah.
there distinct challenges or mindset blocks you've seen in midlife women that require different coaching approaches than working with women in their 20s and 30s?
I don't really work with women in their 20s. I
Okay.
work with more women who are 30 and up.
Okay.
Um, I just think it's honestly, it's like understanding your value. And I see that that's and that just breaks my heart because I understand where it comes from.
Hmm.
Um, it breaks my heart. That's why I spend time in that teaching or saying again, just like with that simple exercise that you just mentioned, like, we just need to remind ourselves. It's like we always contend with value because in Western society, it's taught that women are less than. But when you really understand where that comes from, you understand the Jedi mind trick that the patriarchal system has pulled over everybody. And it's like when we start tapping into that divine feminine energy. That's why women can't do business the way men can. And it's not serving. It's not
Right.
serving of us from a masculine approach. Yeah, I can step into my masculine and run all over you. And I work. I align myself with women who do the same thing, like who will tear men down. Maybe I sound like I'm man bashing, but I'm not trying to. I'm not really trying to bash men. It's just that I think I'm just calling it as it is. And these are the
Yeah.
truths that we have to contend with, but essentially they're misconceptions and or lies. So when you really get to the root cause, and I think that's what I have seen across the board, no matter what industry that I'm in, is root causes. Like I think in, not I think, I know in Western society, we're used to putting Band-Aids on cancer. I'm used to getting to the root of what is really going on. And if you operate on a superficial level, you're never going to be impactful. Like my goal is to have a global impact. And the
Mm,
only way I can get to a global impact is getting to the core and dealing with the essence of who we are. And I can't help that my truths are, if I'm telling the truth, I can't help that. Then change the current situation so we don't have to regress. But even though I went off on a tangent, I think that's what I see. It's really like we have to get to the value of understanding the core of who you are. And until we get to understand that, a lot of times women don't want to have that conversation, especially women who are in their 50s and up. They're not ready for that deep-seated conversation of where is this coming from? And that's coming from,
yeah.
the religion.
Yeah. And especially in the Black community, even
Oh,
more
girl.
so.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, yeah, like you said, that's another
Yeah.
conversation.
But I had somebody in my they decided to DM me on a video, a short that I had posted about my use of the word universe in relation to God. And I'm like, you don't want to have that conversation with me. And that
Mhm.
was literally my response. It's like, you don't want to have that conversation with me. I said, first of all, don't push your ideals or your beliefs off on me.
Right, right,
Also, it's like, universe is God. God is the creator. It is all.
right.
And then they came back and they apologized. And I left them on red because it's like, you don't want to have that conversation with me.
Yeah.
And so when we start really, again, it's like you have to go down a rabbit hole. And I tell people that me being a midwife changed my life. It changed
Mm,
my life. And it changed how I saw myself as a woman. It changed how
mhm.
I approached other women. It changed how I approach healing. So this is why even in business, I'm able to look at things from a total aspect. Like you mentioned, you took the master class and you have all of these ideas percolating, and I'm used to that. I'm used to like, okay, we hear all of these, like all of this popcorn going off. I get it. But then now how are we going to deal with, like, we're funneling things in and we're getting to the core essence of what you're trying to offer and do. And that is where you can make your impact. And
Right.
that is where your uniqueness lies.
Okay. Okay. I like that answer. I like that tangent too. So
That was a long answer.
no, that was good. That was good. I liked it. So I have one final question for you. What does it mean to be unapologetically 50 in your case? And I know you're not there yet. I let you slip in a little early because you have so much value.
I appreciate it.
But what does it mean to be unapologetically 50 to you?
I don't, Angela, like I'm so grateful to you and the other women who are 50. You and I had a conversation about menopause. And I'm like, I'm looking at all these women who are just like, thank God I don't have no hair, but they pulling their hair out and they miserable. And you was like, you gave me another perspective. And you were like, you told me what essentially it means. And I was like, okay, that helps. For me, my algorithm is change. I always change up my algorithm, but now because I am approaching 50, I'll be 50 in about 5 months, I think, about 5 months. Is these women who are 50 who are gorgeous, you included, who are
Thank
doing the damn thing, who dress so sexy. It was like, that is my 50 aspiration. And that's what I mean, because these women are just like, they are so in their audacity era.
There, that word.
That is like, that's the girl who I'm aiming after.
Right.
And it's just like, I don't want to say 50 is like the new 40, but it's just a level of like, I wish you would. That these 50 women, like the 50 plus community has, who are
Yeah.
really doing it. They're
Right.
not, I'm not saying that you don't have your things, hormone shifts, but they have a level of audacity, and I wish you would. That it's like, yeah, because I'm a beast now. Like, could you imagine me? Oh, child. Tell this conversation a year or two from now and see. I'll probably be a mess, but I'm gonna love it. My goal in life, ultimately is to live a long time to torture my children, like in a good way, and I have to be sexy and healthy in order to do that.
Exactly. I think I like to say that we are not our mother's 50.
Oh no.
We are not our mother's 50 at all, and definitely not, our grandparents' 50, so and 50
Mm-mm.
plus, and 60, because I've had some ladies on, one lady was actually 69, and I didn't even know. When she told me, I was like,
Mm.
really? Oh, I had to, look twice because I was just amazed at how put together she was, and she was still out there doing things. I'm like, okay, I'm
And you
watching
know
you.
what? And you know what though? What it's movement. Think about these women. They are moving their bodies on a
Exactly.
regular basis.
Yeah.
And they are keeping that energy, like
Moving.
they're
Mhm.
moving that energy. Nothing is stagnant.
Right.
Again, this is why complacency is a killer. So they are moving their bodies, they're moving in communities, they have a community, like they're moving. Like one of my sexiest friends is Michelle. Michelle, I'm like, when she tells me her age, I think it goes through one ear and out the other. I don't, it's like, girl, bye. Because she's so useful. She's
Yeah.
always moving. She's making impact. She dresses cute as a button. Like, and she's just and
Doing it. Yeah.
just doing it. So that's what I look at.
Well, that I like that answer, so thank you. And thank you again for coming on. I truly appreciate your
You.
support. And if you guys haven't, check out Tracie's website. What's your website? I'm going to have it in the description, but what's your website and some of your social handles?
So my socials are at Tracie Collins, and on TikTok it's Black Girl CEO in Mexico. But my website is traciecollinsofficial.com, and that's Tracie with an IE. And I will correct you if you misspell my name because don't. Like that's
No.
it. You get it wrong one time, two times, that's you just being negligent and being disrespectful. So I'll give you one pass. So it's traciecollinsofficial.com.
Yes, check her out. If you guys are have your a business, starting a business, want to start a business, you need to check this lady out because she is
Oh, thank you.
amazing. She really helped me, and I'm definitely going back for some more coaching because you can't when it comes to business and how things change all the time, you need someone who is going to coach you through it, or you're just running. At least I would be running around in circles. So thank you
Yeah,
again for
thank
what you do
you.
for the community. Please remember to like, subscribe, like I said at the beginning, and thanks to Tracie, check out my Stan store. I'll have it in the link below. I
Yay.
have some wonderful ebooks and some free stuff too. So please check it out. And it will be in the link below. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.